And the music plays. Is the music playing?
Mm-mm.
Looks like it. I see it on my side.
I see it, but
I
I don't
can't
hear
hear
it.
any. I don't see any audio, or I don't hear any. See any audio.
You don't see any audio?
Time to wake up.
Put our pretty faces there. What the heck? I just played it. Oh, okay. Enough of that. Without audio, I don't understand that. I played it just a moment ago. I tested it. I tested it.
Technical difficulties. Is that?
All right. We're off to a good start.
That's it.
All right.
What is
Hey
happening?
there, and welcome. You got the three real estate gurus here with you today. We want to thank you for anybody that's out there. We say hello to you. Listen, if you have questions and you're on Facebook or even for that matter YouTube, you could put a question in. I'm not sure we'll answer it while we're online, but we'll try if we get that. You've got Joe Salas, expert engineer and purple paint inspection guy. And you've got Tim King, who is an amazing appraisal guy. And I forgot to mention Joe Salas is also the realtor and a realtor trainer for Jane Byrd Properties International. And me, I'm the lowly lone guy in this group. I've been doing it 175 years. No, not quite that long. Been doing it a while, and we're here to kind of maybe not so much answer questions, but maybe we will give you some questions to ask when you're in a situation where you're looking to buy property or find out about that kind of stuff. And after this last week, a couple things happened that had never happened to me before, so I got one more notch in the experience belt. I'm not sure I love that, but we can talk about it a little bit. But what we're going to talk, well, Joe, tell me what's going on with you, brother.
5 days, man. It's all it took to get contracted on that house I put for up for listing in Conroe. So I must be doing something right.
Nice.
Right, 5 days. What was the property value on that one?
We listed it at $725 and we had multiple offers.
Wow. Nice. Good
5
job.
days. Wow.
Okay, Tim, you do anything? You're finally better. You look better.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been under the weather a little bit. Had some sort of weird virus. I tested negative for COVID and the flu and strep and all that stuff, but I don't know, something in this pollen, I guess. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, the pollen kicked my butt too. I mean, it was not pretty.
It's crazy.
But I am so glad it's almost April and that yellow stuff is gone.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
All right. So what I put on the board today to talk about was new builds. And one of the reasons I did that, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but the way that new builds escrows are done, a lot of people don't understand that. And it is a dangerous thing for homebuyers, particularly first-time homebuyers that don't understand how it works. Rarely will a new home sales guy tell you about my name for this, the escrow whammy. I mean, I know, if you look that up, the only thing that you're going to find is a YouTube video on escrow whammy. And if you're buying a new home or thinking about buying a brand new home, I'd look it up. It's a video I did probably 5-7 years ago, but it's still true. I still get calls every year about this time. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but that's not what we're mainly going to talk about. We're going to just talk about buying new builds because a lot of people are doing that. Oh, I got to get back away from that. All right. So what you need to know about buying a new build in 2023. So, Joe, before I start, any little comments about new builds that you have?
They're negotiable. They'll negotiate throwing in appliances, blinds, just all it takes is you asking, and the worst they can say is no, right? So just because they're offering something doesn't mean you can't ask for more. That's it.
Tim, you get to appraise many new builds?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're seeing a lot of land in the local area. Gosh, I'll tell you what. I was just in Crosby today, had a comp pick to take in Lake Shadows, and they cleared acres and acres and acres of land that they're going to be. I forgot the builder name, excuse me, but you see that in a lot of places. Back by Balmoral and those. I mean, they're just gobbling up all the vacant land in our local area. and popping up new home communities.
Yeah, there used to be grass fields and stuff like that, particularly out by Crosby.
Yeah, that surprised me because it is enormous, the amount of homes they're about to build. And that, how you go down, what is that? Going into Lake
121, isn't
Shadows.
it?
What is it?
121?
No, not 2100. It's the going into the subdivision. It was like all trees, and they tore it out, and it's all dirt right now. But it's going to be a lot of homes being built, so it's kind of trending right now.
Well, I guess it's a good thing that they're building the homes to a degree. I'm mixed about it just because of what I see on a consistent basis. But what our mission is today, or at least my mission is to alert you, not to warn you, but to alert you to some of the little subtleties about buying a new home. And I think that you will leave richer with information than what you started right now. So if you're considering this is for you. If you're not, then you can blow us off, but we'll still have some fun without you. So, buying a new construction home, these are the questions we're going to answer, or we're going to talk about. Should I hire an agent for new construction? A lot of people don't. What kind of lot should I select? What kind of HOA oversight and cost will there be? What features come standard? What's extra? What are the builder's financing options, and does the builder offer incentives? Ask about the escrows. This is where I'm going to talk a little bit about the escrow whammy. Can I make changes or upgrade features before closing? Is there a builder's warranty? And can I have a home inspector examine the home before we close? And you guys might think of some others. As I started listing them, you can see the print got smaller and smaller, and I hope that everybody can see that. But we're going to go through those. We're going to go through them quickly just because we don't want to bore anybody to tears, but we think this is important stuff. But first, we have to have a little bit of humor, and my humor is a little crude today.
No.
But one of the things about living in a neighborhood, I'm getting some yucks on that.
Goodness gracious.
That's because we're just dudes hanging out.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the things,
our humor, I guess.
One of the things I know is that when you live in a house for any length of time, the neighbors come into play. And a lot of times you live and love the neighborhood, and you love the people that live in the neighborhood. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes there are some people that just aren't very friendly. And so in this case, this is a little card that says, congrats on your new home. Hope your neighbors aren't bad. I'm not, whatever it is. I'm not sure I can read what it says there. Anyway, all right. So should I hire an agent for new construction? Well, gosh, look at that picture. I guess you should hire either Joe or Jane, but builder's agent represent the builder. Mm-hmm. So what the realtor does is they become your advocate. And they usually are your advocate as a buyer's agent. Someone who's dealt with builders before, is a good person, knows and understands the nuances of buying a new build, and bring your agent with you the first time you go to the builder's office. Otherwise, they'll try to cheat them out of the commission. Joe, what did I miss?
You hit every single point on the head, the nail on the head on every single one of those, especially that last one. They'll try to talk you out of it if you don't bring them up front. So definitely bring your agent with you on the first time that you go see a model home or whatever the case may be. An agent is an important part of your journey, even purchasing a new home, a brand new build home. Like you mentioned here, we have experience and knowledge of dealing with new builds, hopefully prior. And, there are nuances involved with the process of getting from signing the contract and putting your deposit down all the way through the closing date. And we would love to assist you in that process.
Well, I think one of the other things that I didn't mention on here is that the builder pays your realtor.
Oh, yeah.
You don't pay the buyer does not pay the realtor. So there's no downside to getting a smart realtor to go out there with you. And particularly somebody that's dealt with them, I guarantee you, you'll save a ton of money. You'll make good decisions. And I can't just, I'm just, that's a big deal. So don't even think about it. And it's too easy to just go out and look at the open houses and stuff. And as soon as you do that, you basically eliminated the chance for you to get that benefit. So very important. All right. So what kind of lot should you select? Well, I mean, when I looked at that, and I've got this picture of, I don't know where this is, some country area, but there is a difference in the lots that you select, and you'll find that when you go out to the builders, they're for different prices for each of lot, even though they may be all very similar in size. There are some characteristics that make them better or worse. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think this is a good question for Tim, Mike, is, what do you look at, Tim, as an appraiser when you go out to price a pre-owned home that's being resold? Is there any of this that plays into effect in your valuation of the property?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going down the list here, and really everything has a little bit of say in the value of a lot. I mean, obviously view, location, cul-de-sac, interior, corner. I mean, you can just, now what the builder may put as a premium. Sometimes I'm like, why are you putting, an $8,000 premium on this, this lot that might have 50 more square feet? I mean, I think you have to be careful with that, but obviously you're looking for, really it just depends on what your buyer is looking for. I mean, just make sure you're not it's important to find out what you're backing up to. It might be trees right now, but what's on the other side of those trees? I mean, it could be some water plant or sewage thing or whatever. I know some appraisers got in trouble, not indicating things like that. But yeah, corner lots aren't always the best. They may be bigger in size, but they also may be on a busier road. So, little things like that, just really pay attention to it. But yeah, a site makes a huge difference. Separation between neighbors, have a little space. I mean, everything kind of takes.
You made me think of a deal that I did out in, I think it was the Woodlands actually. And I'd done this guy refi for him, and his property, this was, I don't know, it was a long time ago, 7 years ago. And his property appraised, I want to say, for about 360. And so fast forward 4 years later, and he's going to get some cash out of the property this time. And the appraiser goes out there and he appraised it for less, and everything else was more expensive. And it came to find out that the first appraiser did not notice that his home was next to a water
like one of those water treatment
plant, yeah, or maybe it was anyway it was not good. Right. And we argued and to no avail, because the appraisal didn't pick it up on the first one. So really that kind of stuff really important. I am sensitive to this in which way the windows face and where your bedrooms are, and if you like waking up with the sun in your eyes or that kind of stuff, just little extra things to think about that I bet most of the potential home buyers that buy these nice homes didn't think about. Good thing to think about. And particularly don't think about it when the land is still just lots. When the home's already started and everything, that you're going to see that. But anyway, I thought that was a kind of interesting question.
Good point. Yeah.
So what kind of HOA oversight and costs will there be? And man, I have seen dramatic differences in this. The first thing, most of the new builds have an HOA. They're going to have it, but usually don't the new builders, don't they manage those themselves? I mean, it's not the homeowners, it's the actual company that is the builder manages them initially. Yeah. Yeah, they handle rule creation, well, it's easy for me to say. They handle rules, the creation and enforcement of them. How much are the dues? What do they cover? Are there amenities? Who enforces the HOA rules? And what are the penalties for breaking the rules? And what do you do to contact them when you have questions? And I live in Kingwood. I know Tim lives in Kingwood. Joe, I don't know what it's like in the Woodlands, but it's a constant battle with our HOAs. Now, we're a older community that has long-term rules set, and it seems like the people that are I don't know, what do you call the guys that, I won't say.
On board?
Well, maybe the board. I was thinking the guys that drive around and say, dude, you get a letter 3 weeks later that says your trash cans are visible from the road when we drive by.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the other thing is who is on the board? Who are these people? Why do they do this stuff? Anyway, it's a interesting thing. But for new builds, it's kind of like up in the air. And if you wanted to get involved, if you're one of those guys that likes to be a manager, then this is a good spot for you. Particularly, if you're retired and not doing anything else. But these are questions probably at the early part. Be a good thing to ask the home builder salesperson, so that you can get an idea of what the HOA dues are. Give me an example of what the HOA dues are in the Woodlands, Joe.
You want to hear something funny? Is most of the Woodlands isn't under HOA; they're under a township, which acts similar to an HOA, but doesn't have the governing authority as a HOA would.
So how do they police that?
The township. It's more like ordinances.
Gotcha.
Which is similar to, actually, I live in a small town called Oak Ridge North.
Gotcha.
And the ordinances are run by the city. The code enforcement people from the city come around and check for things similar to what an HOA would, but not as strict.
Interesting. Well, I don't know. Kingwood, I've gone back and forth with them, just not really a fight or anything like that. And we're not challenging them on a day-to-day basis, but the trash can thing, I've lived in my house a long time, and 20 years after I lived there, I got my first notice that they could see my trash cans, or I didn't get them. We get Tuesday trash. I didn't get them back out of sight on Wednesday, and you just kind of go, really? 20 years later, what the heck is that? So I don't know, but anyway, I don't think the dues are bad. We get two. We got a trails due, so that they keep the greenbelt trails nice and kept up, and then of course just the neighborhood too. Tim, am I right? What do you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're right on the money. It's just, I'll tell you what, like some subdivisions are getting a little bit loosey goosey, like mine, for example, and you're seeing the difference between, we used to call them, the HOA Nazis, because they were just crazy, just militant almost, and then you have the ones that just aren't paying attention, and they serve their purpose. I'll tell you that. I mean, they do serve their purpose if you have a good, group that are overlooking your subdivision.
Yeah, so it's kind of like they're not good or bad. They're necessary, but they can be idiots too.
Sure. Oh, for sure.
But it's better to have one than not, I think. I'm convinced.
Yeah, I agree. Or at least something, even like a township. Somebody's policing, so many homes in one, congregated area. I mean, you got to have some.
So I gotta be careful, because right there next door to me is one. If they hear me, they'll come.
I think we all have one of those.
You look like you had something to say, Joe. What were you kind of?
I thought of a joke. What do you call a group of Karens? And the meme, when somebody's being a Karen, it's called an HOA.
An HOA, yeah, for sure.
Okay,
that's funny.
Here's one. What home features are standard and which are extra? And so it seems like everything that you want is extra. And when you take everything that's extra away from these model homes, I mean, these model homes are usually decked out to the max. And I just picked up on this outdoor viewing kitchen thing that I love this. I mean, I think this would be an awesome place to be. Now, come around September and August and July, maybe I wouldn't spend too much time out there. But I mean, so from what I understand from the study I did, builders have what's called a one sheet. Have you heard of that, Joe?
A one sheet?
Yeah.
Not that terminology. I've seen a build sheet where it shows all the options that were chosen. If it's an inventory home, it'll show you everything that was chosen for that home. And sometimes it's important. This is another reason why a realtor is a good advocate for you. Sometimes in those sheets, they say, hey, something was supposed to be in there, and then you go buy the home and it's not in there. And if you're not paying attention, no one's held responsible.
Well, from what my study said, the one that has the standards is a one sheet. That might be lingo that you might ask, and the builder guys are going to go, huh, what? I don't know. I have no idea what that is. But make sure you understand what the costs are and all the cool goodies that you're going to want. And I guarantee you that any model, and it's been a while since I've been to a model, but I mean, they are decked out to the max and they look great. And, people are captivated by all the modern design things that they do and stuff. And you come to find out that every bit of that is extra.
Extra. Yep.
Now, what I also find is that usually the salesman will give some incentives. He'll give you a credit towards what you want, and you spend that based on the things I guess are your priority. That's in my mind, that's the way that would work. But I don't have a lot of experience with that. Tim, you seen any of this kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny to the appraiser a lot of times because, like I said, I mean, builders have their own way of calling an upgrade. Obviously the obvious ones we know about, the granite countertops and the covered porch and things like that. But it seems like they try to upcharge a lot for a lot of things that really should they be worth that much? I mean, they kind of put their own value on that. That's why, yeah, I agree with you guys. Well, you should have some representation.
The one thing that I see, particularly on the appraisal deal, is that builder goes out there and that first house that gets appraised is, I mean, it's kind of like, what are they comparing it to? Because generally the neighborhoods around there aren't anything like what the development's going to be like. So that first appraiser, and usually, or, I don't want to be cynical, but I am a little bit here, that first house gets $400,000 that kind of sets the standard by what's supposed to be there. And then it's up to the next appraiser, and the appraiser goes, wait a minute, this house, there's no way this is $400,000. And you compare it to something that might be close. So I always wondered about that, if they have their own appraisers that do that kind of stuff. And I don't know.
No, I mean, before the change, of how our industry, the direction it's going, I mean, normally, they would call on appraisers. Now, were the appraisers doing the job right? That I don't know. But right now it's, I feel like there's a lot of mass appraisal type things going on, like AVMs and computer models, and the banks are allowing for some of these things. So I think it's important to have an appraiser, actually make sure it's a live appraiser going out to see these properties, because
well check. I don't want to beat this like a dead horse or anything, but so if the buyer uses the builder's lender and then the lender orders the appraisal, it seems like a little bit of potential for some double deal business, if you will, or some collusion, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I received an order. It was from a mortgage company, but I think it was going from a Lennar financing or something like, along that end. And it was me doing the appraisal, so it was legit, unbiased. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I know. So
no, I trust you like big time.
Might have killed the deal, but
yeah.
No,
yeah. So what? Okay, what are the builder's financing options? I'm going to take this one. Which type of mortgages do they offer? So they may offer all of the ones that we do. Do they have special rates or closing costs that they help with? I've seen some that do. And let me tell you, if they can offer you special rates, it seemed like maybe 6 months ago, somebody brought a builder in and offered rates that were unbelievable. And I said, gosh, I mean, I can't compete with that. Go for it. But most of the time, the rates they aren't that good. The questions I always answer is, are the rates competitive? What they do a lot of times is they cater to people that don't have a lot of money. And so they help them with giving them closing cost help. And I'm being cynical again. I guess this is a cynical day. But they overcharge on the cost of the closing fees, and then they give you a credit towards those. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like a buying a used car type thing, where they're going to give you X number of dollars for your car based on what the price is on the car that you're buying. Now, they offer low down payment options. A lot of them do, and a lot of them can offer 100%. Are their fees reasonable, and do they stick by those? And do you only get the money if you use their mortgage company? That's one of the things that they're big on, is you do that. And all I tell you is, well, I had an experience. My nephew bought a home down in League City, was going with a new build, and he said, Uncle Mike, I really want to use you, but they're requiring me to use them unless you can beat their deal. Well, I said, Justin, that's easy. Send me their deal and I'll beat it. So I sent him a deal, and I gave him a really good family rate, which I give to all my friends and customers. They get all good rates. But he took that back and they matched it. So he not only got all the incentives that they offered, but he got the lowest rate. And I didn't give him a rate that I couldn't give. I gave him a rate that was a good rate. So I encourage people, and I actually have a video that I do on that says, look, get a second opinion. And if they're lower than mine, they may come down. And if they're not, then you got a better mortgage anyway. So you can't lose on a deal like that. Made Joe mad. He's walking out.
Yeah.
All right. So this is ask about the escrows. Now, I understand why the builders reps don't talk about this, but it's a tough deal, and you'll appreciate this because you probably see it. Joe, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you mad. All right, so check this out. So every year I get calls like crazy in February and March because this happens. Somebody goes and buy a new build. They buy it in May or June or July, and what's happened is the property on the county books shows the lot value and the taxes that are charged on lot value. But when we do the mortgage based on the property value, not just lot. So what happens is the buyer will pay his mortgage with the escrow, the taxes and the insurance included on there, and then they get the bill for the taxes in usually October, late October, November, and the taxes are based on the lot. So they've got way too much money in their escrow account. And if I'm not doing this in order, just tell me, I'll slow down. But what happens is the mortgage company in February and March reanalyzes the value of the property in the escrow account. And so what they end up doing is they send a big check and lower the payment. And the buyers or the borrowers or the homeowners go, this is awesome. This is great. It's $400 less a month, and we just got $7,000. And it's like fantastic. How'd this ever happen? Well, if they don't call, when they do call is next March or April, when they've underpaid their escrow account for the last 10 or 12 months, and they owe not only the amount that's due for that year, but the overage to get them back up to speed. And it could be $12,000, $15,000, maybe more. And their payment goes up. In some cases, it doubles. And if you've ever driven around a new home development, you'll see sale signs for properties that are 1 or 2 years old where that is exactly what happened. And they're lucky. They'll be very lucky if they can sell it for the value. Now, these days, it might be a little better. But the way you get around this is you just inform them. You tell them what's going to happen, and then you tell them when they get that money, you put it in a savings account because it's going to be going away pretty soon. You just earn the interest on it is about the best you can do. And the people that I've had an opportunity to work with and told them that, they thanked me graciously for being able to tell them that, but nobody else will tell them. And it's not, will it happen? It's going to happen. There's no question it's going to happen. And it's ugly. This can also happen if you buy a home from somebody that's over 65 and gets a big discount, or maybe they're a veteran or a disabled veteran and they don't have very many taxes. Same thing can happen, but it more than not happens with the new home purchase. Have you guys had that experience?
I've seen it happen.
See, in most markets, we used to be able to refi them out of that. That was a very good solution, particularly if rates are better. But right now, the people that called me this year, they had good rates a year ago, and they're going, what am I going to do? And I said, dude, you got two options. You can refinance to the worst rate, or you can sell. That's about your only options. And it just doesn't seem right. And anyway, I call it the escrow whammy. If you ever want to look at it, for anybody out there that's listening, if you want to ever see what the escrow WAMI is and you're going to consider buying the house, you've got to see that video and then call me and I'll explain it to you. Okay. Can you make upgrades or changes? Can you do that?
It's a tight menu, right? And they will offer some, but if you are not the person or the customer that has approached the builder to build that house on that lot, your selections are going to be tight if you're buying an inventory home. They made blinds, different appliances. Those are kind of some of the upgrades, but mostly if you're buying an inventory home, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it, and my brother-in-law, Sandy's brother, is a builder, and the only thing he ever complained about as a custom builder was the changes that people make. And you can, I have a thing that I tell people if they want to do a construction loan. I say, well, first off, how's your marriage? Because there's so many decisions that they have to make. And of course, in my family, I don't make any decisions. I'd say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, whatever. But
Good man.
if there's any contention about what's going to be changed. And then the cost of doing those, they're always surprised that it costs a lot more to make those changes than what the actual, just the change they want to make. It's a lot more than that because of all the other stuff that comes along with it. Different colors, they're probably cool with that. It's when they want to change where the window is, or if they want to put a stairway in here, or they do all this kind of silly stuff. Not silly stuff. Do stuff that they didn't plan on. It can cost you. So you just have to be really careful about that. So really, as a buyer of a new build, make sure you have an understanding of that. Now, if you're doing custom, this is what happens. Between the time you buy the house and it's built, they get the home magazine and they go through there and they're looking at all the beautiful pictures of all the different things that people have put in their home that they love. And that's what I want. I want that. And the next thing you know, they're going back to their builder and asking for changes. Just warning you, that happens. Is there a builder's warranty? Have you ever seen one that there wasn't a builder's warranty?
No, normally they'll give you some sort of a limited warranty.
There's I think they call it a 2-1-10 or 1-2-10.
1-2-10.
1-2-10. What describe that to me, Joe? What is that?
One is an all-inclusive, so they cover everything for 1 year. 2 are major appliances like AC and other appliances, kitchen appliances, etc., water heater. And then the 10 is on structure, foundation, and roof.
Okay, that seems reasonable. And I guess the bigger builders would have probably a standard group of outsourced people that they use that they've, I guess, verified that are quality people.
Well, and here's another thing too is, and this is what I tell as if I'm a realtor or even as an inspector searching for business, it's important to inspect a new build as well. It's not like you get a new car. And when you get a new car, it's been through the factory, it's been through a QA process. Yes, they do have a QA process with new builds, but they leave a lot of that onus of responsibility for catching things that are unsightly to you or paint touch-ups. Also, they do have inspections. They do have city inspectors and engineer inspectors that come out, but it's always good to have, just like an advocate on the sales side as a realtor, it's also good to have an advocate for you on the purchase side as an inspector. And the reason I say that is it's best to catch the deficiencies prior to closing. Once you get through closing, you're no longer dealing with the builder. Most likely, you're going to be dealing with a warranty company that works with the builder. And there's a process and systems that are set up in place that you won't get as much attention to fixing it as quickly as you would is if you identified those and had those fixed prior to closing, because they want you to close and they're going to do everything in their power to get you closed as soon as possible. So if you identify that list prior to, then you give it to them and you submit it and they fix it rather quickly. If you wait until after you're closing and then file a warranty on something, it takes a little bit longer for response.
That, my friends, is wisdom right there. Is you'll learn that, and hopefully you have an advocate like Joe to help you when you do something like that. Um, and then I was kind of thinking he's kind of shooting the gun a little early, but can I have a home inspector the property prior to the closing?
I've been through it too many times, my man. Too many times.
Now, there's something about a certificate of occupancy. Tim, do they still require that, or is that there's something in Harris County where they don't have a certificate of occupancy? Is that correct?
That I'm not too sure of. Yeah.
Joe, you see anything like that?
I'm not familiar.
I know that at the Pasadena house we had to get inspected by the gas company, so a couple other entities, and they gave us stickers, red stickers if it was not inspected to their level, and green stickers if it was, which was I guess the equivalent of occupancy. Let's see, when you get certificate of occupancy, but not all, that only means property's in a livable condition. It doesn't mean, like what Joe mentioned just a moment ago, that all the little details have been taken care of. You want problems corrected before you close. Plus, it's much easier to prove it was not your fault because you hadn't been in there yet. It's all the builder. A good builder should welcome a home inspection because they want to know what's wrong. They didn't build it themselves. They had their people do it. There's good people. There's good contractors, and there's some that aren't so good. Sometimes the subcontractors do shoddy work that causes a problem. And the cost is not too high, but the value is very high. And so Joe and I did a little business this last week, and I mean, I'm as close to money as anybody, but I valued what he did and the opportunity for me to go back to the house after we pretty much thought that it was finished, and we had a lot of stuff to do. And I appreciate the detail with which you did that effort with, and it'll just save me money in the future. Maybe not a roof, but
Uh-oh.
you did surprise me on that one, but that's okay. I get that. But anyway, I think that is no, I didn't. We always want to tell you that if you're going to be selling your house and you want to find out how much your home is worth, I'm hanging out right now with two guys that can help you. Joe is all over this with a CMA. And then if you think Joe's not right, then you can always hire Tim and he'll tell you what's right or wrong because he is a bona fide appraiser. So, but I always encourage you to call Joe first because he does it for free. And Tim,
Yeah, why is he doing you like that,
Come
Tim?
on, man. What's up?
just the truth, boys, just the truth.
It is free. And, I can't, my company's name is EST Appraisal, and people would ask me, ESP? It's like, hold on, let me tell you what your home's worth. If I could do that, I'd charge less. But I can't quite do that. So.
That's funny. All right.
Look at that, Mike.
Here we go.
Yo, baby.
These rates are not correct.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I wish I could tell you.
I'm
know
excited.
that the 30-year was 6.5% today.
Okay.
So unfortunately, this is not correct. That would make the 15-year about 6%, maybe 5.99, and the FHA is probably about 6 3/8. And I apologize for not correcting the slide. I know I got you excited there, Joe. I get excited when they're down there too. And
well, I'm sure we all will.
This is one of those times we're a little bit over time, but the volatility of the bond market, and you can see it in the stock market too, has been dramatic. A normal day on the bond market would be a 15 to 20 basis point change from the morning to the afternoon to all the changes. They've been having 80 and 90 bips changes on a day-to-day or morning to afternoon or stuff like that, and the market just doesn't know where to go. And so they're kind of taking a very cautious mode about lowering rates because of the bank issues that are happening, and the Fed. Most of the people in the bond market are watching the Fed, and the Fed, I'm sorry, they're not sure that they're doing all the right things. The raise of this last interest rate rise after the problems with the banks seem to be contrary to helping the situation at the banks. That puts more pressure on them. So
they probably had a safe face.
I guess so. I mean, but it'll be interesting. My guy continues to. I follow Barry Habib. That's who I follow, and he thinks by the middle of May that we should be constantly or pretty solidly down into the fives. That's
Okay.
where
That's
he's
your
coming.
prediction, middle of May?
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, obviously, it's hard to tell when
Yeah.
you've got a lot of moving parts, but I think that would be encouragement. That would definitely help all of our business because people, and even in the mid sixes to the low sixes, that's a place where people can handle that. It's just when you're sneaking up in the higher sixes or the low sevens, that's when it gets crazy. I had a bunch of information I wanted to share, but I'm not going to because I know we're going over too far. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for any of the viewers that saw this. Hopefully this was entertaining. I don't know. It was kind of, there were some funny points, I thought. But Tim, always good to see you. Joe, I appreciate you, brother.
See you guys.
And we'll see you next week. And if you have any questions, please subscribe, like, and just tell your friends about this. And we'll talk to you soon. Okay? Bye-bye.
Bye.